Let's do it then, Chris.
Cool. Welcome to the High Value Customer Podcast, the show for business leaders to learn how to attract and retain high value customers. This week's guest is Stephen Bavister from LexisClick. LexisClick are based in Bournemouth in the UK. LexisClick help companies with high value customers with recurring revenue to attract their ideal customers with less risk by becoming their outsourced sales and marketing team on a revenue share basis. Welcome to the call, Steve.
Hi there, Chris. Thank you very much.
Hope you are well today.
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah.
Right, let's kick things off. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory? Give us a quick story about how you've got to where you are in your career.
Yeah, well, I set up LexisClick some time ago now. It was about getting on for 15 years ago now, which is pretty scary looking back on it. Had a new young son. I was working up in London, decided to move down south to be by the beach and have a nicer lifestyle, etc. Was commuting up to London 3 days a week and working from home a couple of days a week, and decided actually it was time to set up my own agency and really focus on SME businesses and helping them to capitalize on the growth opportunities that the internet was presenting. At the time I was working for big companies that were making the most of the internet, and I identified that really the smaller businesses weren't taking that opportunity, so I wanted to help them to make the most of it.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about who your ideal customer is at LexisClick.
Well, that's evolved over time. Now we're really focusing in on customers that probably don't have dedicated sales and marketing resource within the business, so sort of owner managed, the owners probably doing that themselves, but they've identified they've got a really good opportunity to scale the business. To achieve that scale, they need sales and marketing to help drive that growth. And they've got a few options. They could recruit and hire in-house and build out a team. They could outsource all of it, or what we offer is a revenue share basis, which really gives them, for the right ones, the best of both worlds. So we become their team, but we are still outsourced. That allows them to scale without having the fixed costs and overheads of employing directly.
So has that always been your ideal customer, or has it kind of evolved over the sort of decade or more that you've been in business?
Yeah, it's definitely been an evolution. I mean, it's quite interesting that when I started out the business, we did work, in a number of cases on a performance basis and a revenue share basis. We've retained that for a very small number of customers, but we sort of drifted away from it and worked on a standard agency retainer model for a number of years. But we identified recently that actually we work our best when we've got that performance aspect in play. It gives the best of both worlds for the end customer and also for ourselves. We've always worked with the SME customer base. I mean, that has been our sort of speciality over the whole time that LexisClick has been around. We've helped some SMEs achieve massive growth rates. So that's what we really wanted to hone in on, focus in on that, and make sure that we are creating an environment where we can drive that scale and take on a decent amount of responsibility for it. So
talk to me, get your crystal ball out and talk to me a little bit about what you think the future looks like for your ideal customers. Like what does the world look like in 5 or 10 years time for them?
Well, I think, digital, increasing technology. I mean, the things that we're really seeing is that there's going to be a lot more automation of the marketing and sales piece. So a lot of the work that we go in and do is go in and help our customers build the systems that they need, because we believe that you need the systems first and then to automate those systems. And then we rapidly help them build that automation in. So we're looking at putting automation in place in the first 12 weeks of working with them, which for many of our customers is a real game changer for them. Often they haven't really got those systems in place in the first instance. So we come in, build the systems and start automating from a really early stage. So that helps the customers to scale, which is fantastic. And we see that that's going to really be a trend that continues and accelerates. I think the current situation of lockdown that we've been through is really getting people to rethink that. The other thing that's closely tied with that, Chris, is we're seeing like a simplification of the process, and probably more, I could put it this way, a productization of particularly services. So making services easier to purchase, and particularly easier to purchase online, and therefore easier to deliver online. And that really, again, has been massively accelerated during this recent period of COVID-19 and lockdown, where business leaders, business owners are really having to rethink how their business goes to market and how they package up their products and services to deliver at scale and have the flexibility, at least, to deliver remotely where they need to.
It's almost as if some companies don't want you to do business with them. They make it so hard to actually buy the thing. You've got to jump through so many hoops and get a quote and have a sales call with somebody else. And when in reality, if you could just educate them, you'd probably just stick their credit card in and buy it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think that's really true. I mean, I think the sales process is still going to be around for some time. I don't think that's going to disappear overnight, but I think that is the future, is just a simplification of the sales process. So then where people need to get involved, they're really focusing on high value activities, rather than, at the moment, there's quite a lot of low value admin type activities that salespeople are involved in. And that's really costly for the business. And people don't want to be doing that activity, quite frankly. They want to be adding a lot more value. So definitely not predicting that the robots are going to take over. I think there's going to be a lot more automation. But I think that's going to create opportunities, and it's going to create higher value opportunities. So much more interesting things for us to do as individuals.
So do you think the automation is going to, are people going to get fed up talking to robots, or you think it's a good thing for their ideal customers, the automation?
Well, I think at the moment, you can often tell that it's a robot, but I think that whole process is going to improve. The technology is going to improve, and actually people are going to enjoy that experience, because it means that they can get the information, the answers they need much quicker. They're not having to wait until, if you want to get an answer at 1 o'clock in the morning from a business that's based in your location that isn't 24/7 or doesn't have people employed 24/7, you'll be able to get all of the essential information you need. You'll be able to book a call with someone at a suitable time for you, all of those type of things. And all of that will be automated, so that then the people are free to spend more time on the high value activity, which would be actually having a call with you, really understanding your specific circumstances and giving you very tailored advice, for example.
So talk to me about how your business fits in with that future that you've just painted for your ideal customers.
Well, what we're doing is we're helping them scale. We're helping them, as I said earlier, build the systems to allow for that automation. We're helping them put that automation in place in the early days. Really what we're focusing on is building out their new business pipeline generation. So we're focusing on that, and the way that we're able to scale that is being intelligent in the use of technology, so we can effectively do that cost effectively for the customer. But ultimately what that does is that helps them to scale. It generates revenue. That revenue can be reinvested into improving the business, delivering more value for their ideal customers. And if that value looks like increased automation, for example, they've then got the money to invest in those improvements in terms of improving the value, the customer experience, the customer service, all of those things for their end customers. So that's the bit that we take responsibility for, driving the new business and the revenue to facilitate and fund that.
So what would you say to one of your ideal customers? You had a conversation with them maybe 3 to 5 years after they started doing business with you. What would you say the key valuable thing that you've delivered, or what's the sort of high value output that you would have delivered in your business over a period of time doing business with one of your ideal customers?
For our customers?
Yeah.
Well, the key things that we're doing is, as I've said a number of times already, is we're helping them to build systems and to build their pipeline of new business. And those two things combined create an incredibly valuable business asset. So you've systemized stuff so you can scale it much better. That drives increased revenue, which also drives increased profitability. And we hinge all of that around what we call customer obsession and delivering more value for your ideal customers. So what we tend to find is that the business itself, if we're speaking with a business owner, he's actually looking like, what return on investment have I got from this? Well, number one, we're looking to drive $1 million+ growth per year for our ideal customers. So they'll have got a tangible revenue return on investment for what they're investing in our services. Secondly, we'll have helped them build systems and proven systems that are generating revenue and increase productivity and efficiency for them as a business. And we're helping them to identify how and ways that they can deliver increased value for their ideal customers. So those three things combined actually create an uplift in the valuation of the business as well. So if that business owner either wants to take more of a back seat in the business, that's great, because we've helped them build systems that they're able to do that and go and put their time elsewhere, be it on, you know, spending more time with their kids and more time on their hobbies or investing in other businesses, whatever it might be. They've got the opportunity that they can go and do that. Or alternatively, if they wanted to sell the business, we're helping them create a more valuable asset that's more saleable and is going to be worth more money for them. So whichever route they are looking to go down, we're creating a more valuable business asset as a result of what we're doing as well.
I guess as a business owner, creating systems that, you know, create value in your I guess building up the value of your business is one of the main reasons why you might start a business. I mean, there's all of the kind of lifestyle, you know, perhaps working different hours or when you want and not having a boss and whatever. But ultimately, the one of the biggest differences between having a job and running a business is you're building up some kind of asset which has some inherent value, which you have the option to sell at some point if you want to.
Exactly. And the way that we approach it differently to, I think, really anyone else that we've come across is build that value by creating more valuable value for your ideal customers. So actually what we do is really focus in on the customers and creating value for the customers. And by doing that, it creates value within the business. So it's a very customer focused way of approaching things that ultimately creates a more valuable asset for the business owner, the shareholders in the business, the people who work in the business, everyone involved in that business. But it's all being done by creating increased value for the customer of the business, rather than focusing internally on the direct wants and needs of the shareholders within the business.
So talk to me about how you get all of your team on board with your sort of vision and how you want to create value. How do you get your team kind of aligned and make sure that they're all, you know, singing off the same hymn sheet that you are?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, Chris, and it's essential, and it's been a long, hard journey learning how to do that effectively. You know, lost the team on various occasions in my history of running the business. And I think the key things are having a really clear vision, and we determine a vision as what's the future of your industry or the world for your customers look like, and having then a really clearly defined mission, which is the part of that vision of the future that you have that you're going to take accountability for as a business. So we combine a really clear vision of the future for our customers with a mission of the bit that we're accountable for. And I think that when everyone's aligned with that, believes in it, we use it for the recruitment, for all of the communication within our business. When everyone's really well aligned with those two things, and then having like the values of the business as well is really important. Getting those things aligned is really clear. And then actually communication around everything that you do as a business becomes easier, because everyone in the business, not just the business owner, but everyone in the business calls everything into question as to, is it well aligned with our vision, with our mission, with our values? And I know that those things are very common within businesses, but I think it's just the way that we've termed them. Again, we're looking at them more from the customer's perspective and what matters to the customer rather than what matters internally in the business. Because my belief and our belief as a business as LexisClick is that ultimately businesses exist to serve customers. Therefore, everything we create needs to be very focused and very aligned on those customers, because they're the people who pay the bills at the end of the day. That's where all the revenue comes from. It comes from the customers. So we need to make sure that we're really focused on them. It's not about making the business as valuable as possible for the shareholders in the business. It's actually make it as valuable as possible for the customers. And when you do that, then naturally the byproduct is you increase the value for the shareholders.
So give me some kind of idea as to the costs of working with you. Like, for example, if I was your ideal client and I had, $100,000 budget, like what would I get for that 100,000 if I was to work with you?
Well, first of all, you probably wouldn't need to spend the 100,000 all in one hit. We've thought long and hard about how we structure our services so that we're actually living our sort of customer obsessed message. The things that we identified is that there's big risk for companies either employing directly or outsourcing. There's a lot of risk involved. So how could we de-risk that for our ideal customers? And what we said is, okay, let's work on a revenue share basis. How that works is that there's a minimum retainer amount each month, which is really cost effective and very affordable. So it's actually, in most cases, less than employing one single person. And the benefit is you get a whole team of people that have done this and are focusing on this for a number of customers. So we're able to have the sort of portfolio helicopter effect, is that we can see what's working across a portfolio of customers and then apply it to each of the individual customers and tailor it to those individual customers' needs. And then we work on a percentage revenue share of the revenue that we generate. So again, it's very different to how a lot of other organizations work who do choose to go down a performance basis. Often in the business development and marketing space, they might get paid for the leads they generate. But we see often that the quality of those leads can often be questionable. So we focused it very much on revenue generated, and we'll take a percentage of revenue generated. That's typically 20% for just the marketing, or potentially 30% if the customer wants us to cover the advertising spend as well. So it gives you an idea, and the retainer's fully deductible from that amount. So it's a pure percentage revenue share basis that we work on. There's just a minimum retainer amount that's paid up front that's then deductible off the revenue share as soon as that starts to kick in.
So it seems a lot more like a joint venture where you both put in some kind of skin in the game to, share both the risks but also the rewards when it works. Yeah,
that's exactly how we term it. So when we're speaking with ideal customers, we really are talking about a partnership, and it's very similar to a joint venture. Yeah, we're putting a significant investment of our time in. The minimum retainer really does just provide some cash to cover essentials, but we're making a significant investment. So we put a lot of time and effort in to make sure that we're really confident that we're going to be able to deliver for that customer, because the worst thing that anyone wants is that you invest a lot of time and energy in a partnership and it doesn't end up delivering the results that everyone was looking for. Neither side wants that. It's not good for either side. So we put a lot of time and effort into finding the right customers, making sure that we're really confident that we can deliver results, and also giving them opportunities to get to know us and making sure that we're a good partner for them. It's a two-way relationship at the end of the day.
So you said at the start of this interview, was it 12 or more years you've been running this business, and then a few years doing some consulting before that. Talk to me about some of the lessons that you've learned through your career, and what advice would you give to your younger self if you got the opportunity to have a meeting with him?
I think the main bit of advice is really just believe in yourself, because all of these ideas have effectively come full circle over the course of between 12 and 15 years. So actually, a lot of the things we're putting in place in the business now that we've been putting in place over the last 12, 18 months were ideas that I had when I set up the business. But the trouble was, at that time, I didn't believe in myself enough. And I've had to learn the lessons, and I've had to develop that belief in the skill sets, talents, all of those various different things to then go, oh yeah, we can do this. And, it is right. And actually, it's only the reflection. Oh yeah, well, actually I had a very, very similar idea 12 years ago when I started the business, but we just didn't stick with it. And that was just down to belief. So really that's the key thing, is innately within yourself, you know the right journey and the things that you need to do. And I think it's having the belief in yourself in those and just pushing through. And very closely related to that is it regularly takes time for those great ideas and those things you believe in to come to fruition. I mean, we all hear the stories of the overnight successes, and sometimes actually what that does is that undermines our confidence in our own ability, because we suddenly think we should get an overnight success, and then when we don't have an overnight success, we question it all the more. Whereas actually the reality is it takes time for these things to work, and you've got to have the belief, and that belief will be tested, and you need to work through those testing times to get to the other side.
I think there's very few examples of overnight success. I mean, it's probably someone who's failed a couple of times and then they just know what to do the third time, and then it gets successful quite quickly. But it's very unlikely that someone's going to just literally.
I think that's exactly right, Chris. I think the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes for the overnight successes is often overlooked, because an overnight success makes a much more interesting story or newspaper headline, or a nice bit of clickbait on the internet. Yeah. So that's often what happens, is the hard work that went in behind the scenes is overlooked a little bit.
So talk to me a little bit about the plans that you have for the future of LexisClick. Like, what have you got in store?
Well, we're doing a few really interesting things. So we've got the revenue share bit. That is relatively new for us. We launched that at the beginning of 2020. I think it plays well with what then turned out to happen in 2020. I think it's suitable for the environment we're in. So we're really forging ahead with that. The other things that we've done is we're working on our customer obsession business model and business growth model that we're working to make available to any business, like either free where we can or at a very, very low cost. So we're releasing that. Really, the idea is that everything that we learn up here working with our managed customers, that we want to feed through so that any business in the world can get access to those and benefit from it. That accelerates our learning because more people are using it, more people are feeding back on it. That accelerates our learning for the customers that we're managing up here, but also we're creating more value in the world by pushing that information or distributing that information back out in terms of what we're learning. So hopefully we're creating a good ecosystem of activity to help other businesses to grow. And I think when businesses can grow in a really constructive, positive way, and we call it a customer obsessed way, then that's incredibly positive for all of us, both as businesses and also all of us as customers. We've seen massive success stories with Amazon, for example, growing and using customer obsession to help fuel their growth. Whatever you think of Amazon, you can't deny that they've been incredibly successful as a business, and Jeff Bezos incredibly successful as a businessman. And part of what we wanted to do was just really distill that down so that it's accessible to any business. It's not rocket science. It's something that any business can take on board, and that it's a really holistic approach to growing a business. So that's a key thing that we're working on. And just as well as the revenue share piece that ultimately is available for a relatively small number of customers, is also creating products that have a much wider market that we can create value, ideally at a much bigger scale, to help businesses grow at the end of the day, which is what we're all about.
So let's carry on with the sort of future looking questions. So as you are growing your business, there'll be plenty of challenges that you are going to come across. So tell me about some of the challenges that you think you've already got in your mind that you're expecting to have growing your business, and what you're planning to do about them.
I think, certainly for us, the things that we're addressing, we've decided to become a remote team. That was accelerated through the COVID-19. We were already thinking about it. We've become a lot more productive all working from home. It's just really suitable for us as a business. I'm not advocating it for everybody. I just think we just found it's really suitable for us as a business. So part of our journey going forwards, and we'll have plenty to learn on this journey, is how do we build and scale a virtualized team Fortunately, there's plenty of case studies. We're not going to be the first business doing it. So there's plenty of case studies out there already to go and have a look at. So I think that's going to be a really interesting thing for us. I think that the whole AI piece, machine learning piece, I think there's going to be a lot of learning to do around that. We're just scratching the surface of that at the moment. But we're seeing that coming into play in more and more of what we do. I mean, certainly within the whole search landscape, Google's massively powered by that. So we're seeing that that's really going to come into marketing across the board. We're seeing that it's going to come into sales across the board. So I think there's some really exciting opportunities in that space as well. And I think just really a big driver for all businesses is how can we run more efficiently and more flexibly going forwards with the learnings that we've had, certainly from this first half of 2020. There's going to be a lot around that. And really what we've seen is that we think it's accelerating the inevitable change that was going to happen anyway. But I've spoken with quite a few people. I think it's probably accelerated that by about 20 years, that people have just realized they can change much faster when they need to. And that change is just going to happen faster. It's all inevitable change. It would have probably happened within that time frame, but everyone would have made more of it, complained about how difficult it was, etc. Whereas now we just have to deal with it and get on with it and live with that change. And we're all in exactly the same situation. We're all in it together, which I think there's plenty of benefits to, as well as the inevitable downsides as well.
I think when people have to change, then they've got no choice. It's not like anyone can go, I don't want to work from home, when they have to work from home. There's no, do you want a job or not? This is the way it's going to be, like temporarily. And like you said, some people are going to find that it's a thing they want to continue with, and some people are just going to be grateful for not having to work at home with the dog and the screaming kids running around. Everyone's
and as this video will be testament to, there are some disadvantages to working from home as well.
So next question is somewhat of a fictitious scenario that I'm going to get you to ponder upon.
Yes.
If you woke up one morning and checked your business bank account and found that there was an extra 100 grand in there, no strings attached, no like investors looking for a specific ROI in it, what would you use that 100 grand to invest in your business? Like, what are the things that maybe you haven't decided to go ahead with, that if you had just a little bit extra cash, you'd go, right, that's what I would spend it on?
I mean, we're real advocates for systems thinking and building systems. So I think we've got a few systems that are on the slate for us to develop and invest time and energy in. At the moment, we don't have the finances, so they're on the back burner, they're in the backlog, they're waiting to be done. So I would sit down with the team, with you, Chris, and we'd work out like which of these have got the highest potential for us as a business, which of these could we deliver something meaningful for the amount of money that we've got in the bank. And we would focus on that, get that piece delivered and turned around and out there and creating value in the world. We'd, as always, prioritize it by how much value can this create for our customers and in the shortest space of time. And if you can generate high value in a short space of time with a pretty guaranteed, we invest this and we'll get it delivered, then that would be right at the top of the list, and we'd probably crack on with that particular idea and make it happen. Be a very nice problem to have, I think.
I think a lot of people would like that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're almost at the end of the interview. I've just got a couple of quick fire questions to finish things off. So the first one is your favorite business book.
My favorite business book is, I think it was called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. He was a bit of a sales legend, but he also had the whole systems thinking in place for the sales stuff. And he had quite a few good marketing ideas in there as well. And I think in terms of his outlook, he was a real salesperson, a bit of a classic salesperson, but he was really customer obsessed as well. He never called it that, but that came through loud and clear in terms of his book. So that was really quite an influential book for me. And I still reference it regularly.
Next question is your favorite quote.
My favorite quote. Oh, that's a tricky one. I'll go with a non-PC one. So apologies, I don't mean it to offend. And it was Warren Buffett who said it, but he said some things just take time. So you can't get 9 women pregnant or you can't get 9 women pregnant in 1 month. Something along those lines, anyway.
I think
I haven't done it justice. Do you know the quote better than me, Chris?
I do know the quote. I think you probably could get 9 women pregnant. I'm sure there's some people
you could definitely
probably
get 9
have.
women pregnant. Yeah.
But I think it's more like you can't make a baby in 1 month with 9 women, or something closer to that.
Yeah, you can't make a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. So
you're just gonna have
that was a better one. So I wasn't prepared for that, and I didn't have the quote off the top of my head. So apologies.
That's the.
Fortunately, you knew it.
So next question: your favorite TED Talk?
My favorite TED Talk. I'm going to go with Simon Sinek. Start with why, because that is a really important one and something that we reference at LexisClick time and time again.
So next one: who's inspired you the most in business?
That's a good question, actually. There's a lot of inspiration out there. Just a single person. That is pretty tricky. I am gonna go with Steve Jobs because he's a bit of a legend and
he's
kept doing his own things. And he's my namesake as well, so I want to go with that. That's a good one.
Last one, dead or alive, who would you love to have as a mentor in your business?
I am going to go with the guy, Napoleon Hill, who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, because he interviewed a lot of very successful people, over 100 years ago, and wrote this highly influential book that's still referenced as one of the leading sort of must-read business books. And I think like having someone with that wisdom and experience under his belt, especially as he's somewhere else nowadays and probably gathering even more wisdom and experience, having someone like that at your dinner party would probably be a fantastic experience.
So just want to finish up on if there's anything that you would like to share with our audience that I haven't already asked you. Now you've got your opportunity to share some words of wisdom.
I've got my soapbox to stand on, and I think really just reiterating things that I've said through this conversation that we've been having, Chris, is the importance of really understanding who your ideal customer is and how you can use that understanding of them, and ideally the better understand them better than anyone else does, so that you can provide more value to that ideal customer than anyone else. So if you can combine that understanding with providing the value and underpin it with a business model that you can scale for those ideal customers, which comes through systemization. So combine the understanding with providing more value and then systemization to allow you to scale. You've got the recipe for an incredibly successful business, and really importantly, a business that is genuinely customer obsessed, because it all starts with creating more value for your customers. So I'd just like to leave you with that.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Jump on our website, drop an inquiry through that, and also look me up on LinkedIn. So Stephen with a PH, Bavister. You should be able to find me pretty easily on LinkedIn and drop me a line, connect with me. Send me a message, say that you heard about me from the LexisClick podcast. That'd be amazing.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Steve, and we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris. Cheers.